Welcome to Unreal Card Magic 2. We're here again. Now, this project is not for the casual viewers or the chancers. This is for the die-hards only. The people who consumed all of Unreal Card Magic 1 and still had room for more. This is your level up guide, which covers routines that, frankly, I wanted to keep to myself. Kiss mediocrity goodbye. This is legend status stuff that I'm about to teach you. So, get hyped up and get ready to push your card magic to the next level. I'm going to show you this crazy form of pickpocketing, basically. But don't worry, your possessions are safe. This is just going to use your thoughts, right? And we'll try this very simply. All you need to do is just reach in, just take out anyone that you want.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter which.
Yeah, got one.
Okay, have a look at it, remember it.
Yeah.
Okay, and place it back. Doesn't matter where.
Yeah.
Okay. The idea is this. These are mix up. Now, can you shuffle at all?
You're probably better than I am. Yeah.
Do a bit of a shuffle, bit of a mix,
it's very
fine.
basic.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And once you're finished, I want you to put them inside the card box.
Okay.
So you can see that there's nothing in there, nothing in my hand. So basically you have a thought lost inside of your head, now lost inside of the deck.
Okay.
And then lose the whole lot inside of the box and lock it inside, okay?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Cool.
And look, locked up, okay?
Yeah.
And then I'll put this in my pocket, okay? So now we've got a thought inside of your head, lost inside of the deck, inside of the box, inside of my pocket. Mm-hmm. The idea is I'm going to try and get into your head, figure out what that is, instantaneously go into the pocket, into the box, find it and come out with it.
Okay.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready? So just don't say what it is, just think about it for a second. Picture the card for me.
Yes.
Was it black? Spade? Is it the six of spades?
Oh my gosh, that's nuts. How did you do what? That's incredible. No way.
Ready?
Yeah.
We'll do this. What was the card you had in mind?
8 of hearts.
The 8 of hearts.
Yeah. What?
I want you to think about what that card is. Okay, don't say anything out loud, just think about what that is. The idea is I'm just going to try and go straight in and just grab that thought. What was your card?
Queen of Diamonds. Hey! I love that.
Bang. What was it?
8 of hearts.
Was it red?
Yeah.
Oh! Up there.
Is that it?
No way. What was it?
Queen of hearts.
Oh, look.
Oh, yeah, right. 6 of diamonds. How did you do that?
That was space.
What the f***? How did you
Fun.
do that?
I'm going to try and do this in less than a second. Go in and just do this. Was your card red?
Yeah.
What was it?
5 cards.
Put all of them inside the card box. Right, and then close the flaps up. So right now, you have a card locked inside of your head, lost somewhere in the deck, inside the box. We're going to take the box, put this inside my pocket, okay? So now there's no way of getting access to that. The idea is I'm going to try and get inside of your head, go into my pocket, go into the deck, and find it without you saying a thing.
Good luck in there.
All right, okay.
It's a mess.
All right, okay. All right, here goes. Ready? Just picture the card for me.
Okay.
What was it?
Queen of hearts. No! How? When? When did you do this? When?
That's what he's going to teach them.
God damn.
It's fun, right? Headbox. Let's get into it. Now, this is a mixture between a form of impossible card location and card divination, maybe mind reading, whatever it is, all wrapped into one. And I'll go through some other variations on here that you probably haven't seen in the performance. In fact, I don't think you have at all. But I'll talk about those. I'll go through the basic structure and so you can learn it. It's good fun. I love this routine. It's incredibly simple and direct, yet there's a lot of stuff that you're getting out of this very small package. This is going to be good. Yes, so here we go. Now, you need the box for this one. And I intentionally start by taking them out of the box for a very good reason. I want them to see where the box goes. And I'm going to make that area innocent in one way. Well, I'll show you what I mean. So I start by saying to them something like, now I want to show you a crazy pickpocketing technique. Now, the moment you say pickpocketing, people immediately kind of think, oh no, and they get worried about their possession. So before they really can even have that thought, or at least try, I say, don't worry, your possessions, your belongings are safe. I'm not going to be taking those. This is a different thing. I'm going to be pickpocketing your mind. Let me show you what I mean. And I take these out of the box, okay? And often I'll then just hand them to them and say, would you shuffle these up? And then I put these away into a pocket. And I'm going to use this pocket later. So I put these into a pocket and get rid of them. So they know that the card box is in that pocket. It's not really part of the environment as such yet. It's not really something they're hugely aware of, but at least that box has now gone into that pocket. And I get them to take a card. So they can remove a card from the deck. You can also do a peek. You can do something like this in this case, which is nice. Often, actually, I do like to do it that way. It depends. I mix it up. Sometimes I'll do a peek and then do any number of controls in order to, control that back to a position, in this case, the top. Or I might have a selection. And then I might just shuffle up. So we'd have a selection in this case, whatever this is, the 8 of spades. And again, shuffle up, mix like this. And then say, in fact, actually, would you mind giving them can you shuffle the cards? In fact, give them to them. And now I've palmed off the selection. I like both ways. I think in the performance, you'd have seen it done with a selection. But like I said, often I'll use a peek. And one of the reasons I like to use a peek is the fact that the card has never really left the deck. So often I'll have the card peeked at, and then it stays within the deck. I kind of give them a shuffle myself. I would then palm and then hand it to them and say, in fact, would you give them a shuffle as well? And now I can be in this position where I have the card in hand. So that's where we're going to start, really. And as you've seen in the previous project, Unreal 1, where we talked a lot about different potential ways of doing those things with selections. The reality is you just want to have the card that they have in mind in your possession. You can go either way. I like them both. It just depends on the environment. Anyway, the point is this. Let's imagine, for argument's sake, we have a selection. And this is what's going to happen in this case. It would be the 9 of diamonds. So, I could do all this stuff, come back, do a shuffle control of any sort, a stop control. I'm going to then come back and palm this card off as I then say, in fact, would you give them a shuffle? So I'm here right now with the 9 of diamonds in palm. This is handed to them. And once they start, or as soon as they start shuffling, I just wait a few beats. Okay, I don't go straight to my pocket yet. Just a beat or so, I might reference the shuffle. So yeah, anything, it doesn't matter. And as soon as they've had a couple of shuffles, it basically now is when I'll go into my pocket with the card. I leave it there. Okay, and I'm going to come out with the card box. Trying to do this, it's hard when sitting down doing this, so it's fumbling a bit. But I'm going to come out with the card box, and I'll say to them, now look, I want you to be absolutely sure that there's nothing inside, okay? Now, also in this moment, I will have peeked the card already when it's in the palm. Again, as we talked about in Unreal Card Magic 1, You don't have to do it that way. You could have peeked the card initially after doing the controls. You could have controlled it to the bottom and peeked it and then palmed it off, or whatever the thing is really you want to do. It doesn't really matter. Often in this case, I'll palm from that, peek from that palmed position, and I'll go to the pocket knowing what it is already. So when I now come out and hand them this, I already know what the card is, and it's in my pocket as well. And I say, no, look, it's really important that there's nothing inside here, there's nothing in my hands. Once you've finished, put everything inside the box. And depending on how competent they are at handling the cards, I might keep the box open like this for them to put in, or I might just hand them the box, and they might be perfectly capable of putting this inside like this. And I say, okay, so you have a card, in your mind, which is now lost somewhere in the deck, which is locked inside the box. I'm now going to get rid of the box. I'm going to put the box in my pocket. And as I put this in my pocket, I'm going to put this next to the card. Now, it doesn't matter if the card is on the outside or the inside. The fact is, it's separate. And this is an interesting moment, because from here, there's a number of ways that I handle this. And sometimes I'll do a full mind read type thing here, almost using something from the touch, where I'll put my hand up like this, and we touch fingers, and I'll suddenly start going, did you feel that? Okay. This is about trying to pickpocket your mind. I'm going to see if I can I don't want you to think in any way. I can see that, shuffle it up, it's locked inside the box. Look, I'm going to put this away in the pocket. There's no way for me to look. Okay. So this is what I was talking about. Try and pickpocket your mind. And we're going to try and get that card from your mind. So just touch here like this. They do that. And I can do the same thing. It's red. It's a diamond. This is 9 of diamonds. And you're going to get this big reaction. Then I could go into the physical pickpocketing side, where I pickpocket myself. Sometimes I don't do that. Sometimes instead I just say, okay, I want you to concentrate on your card for me. And what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and go into my pocket, inside the deck, rummage through the cards, and instantaneously come out with the very thought that you have in mind. So I'm going to try and pickpocket your thoughts, okay, from myself. This is interesting. So sometimes I set it up that way and I don't do the mind reading. It depends really on the person and the environment and what I actually think will work better. Any of these potential variations I don't think are necessarily better objectively. I just think that in the specific moment you can get a feeling as to what you think will work better. So that's what I end up doing most of the time, is kind of playing with those different ways of doing it. And then this bit's the easy bit. It depends when you feel is right. You just kind of go into your pocket and immediately just come out with that card. Again, easier when standing. This is sitting is kind of difficult. You just dip in and come out. Look at it and go, was it a red card? Was it a diamond? What was it? And as they're saying it, I slowly turn it around and show the 9 of diamonds. Now, obviously, if I've done the mind reading bit first, I wouldn't need to do that, because I've already got the confirmation that it's the 9 of diamonds. In which case I'll go, okay, 9 of diamonds, 9 of diamonds. I've got to go in, find it, go, okay, 1 second. Oh, I don't even want to look. Bang. And I might be surprised at getting it. You got to play it for real, for what it is. But that's really Headbox. It's, to me, a really, really simple structure and nice way to get a lot out of something very, very simple and very small. As you'll see through most of the stuff we've talked throughout Unreal Card Magic 1 and through 2, a palm, the ability to control initially and do it invisibly and softly and naturally, and a palm is pretty much all you need. And in doing so, we've now exploited this for a very, very different style effect. You can get a lot out of that. You're getting a mind reading element to it, where you're somehow going inside of their head and pickpocketing their thoughts. And then you're getting this other kind of stunt idea of just straight in and out. And there's something quite shocking about that moment. It doesn't feel possible at all. Even if you now know what the card is, or even if you don't, whatever, how you're going in, finding it from a lost shuffle deck, within a shuffle deck is basically impossible. So this is why when I talk about card control and making sure that everything is invisible and feels natural from the get-go, the more you're capable of doing that invisibly in the beginning and making this feel absolutely innocent and natural, everything else after that is just going to feel that much better. And like I said, you can vary whether it's a peak, which I sometimes really like to do because it keeps everything locked inside the deck here. And then we've got this nice situation where I've still got full control over this card. I still have whatever it is kind of locked in, but it's kind of feels like everything was locked inside of the deck and nothing kind of moved. And it was only just a card they thought of inside the deck. And so you really are pickpocketing their thoughts. And like I said, other times I will just have a card selected, and it doesn't really matter to some extent. It really doesn't. I like both ways. And just having this selection go back here, this goes into this position like this. And then this is then obviously mixed up, shuffled. I can peek it now if I want to with the Mahatma shuffle, which is something I'll do. So I now know this is the 8 of clubs. So from this position, we're here, Mahatma shuffle. I look down, I see the Jack of spades. Now I don't need to peek in the palm. Okay, I can now just hand this out. In fact, would you give those a shuffle? And now I have this here. And obviously, if not, like I said, I just palm a random card off and I hand this to them. So give them a good shuffle, right? And I've got so much room here to at some stage look down and now see the King of spades in my hand before this goes into the pocket. And when you go into the pocket, there's a reason for going into the pocket, because you're going to remove that card box, which isn't in there at present. You're going to come out and remove that card box. It makes perfect sense. No one's going to follow that hand. A couple of little tips that I will say when it comes to doing the palming of that, if I actually put this down here, I'll tuck it next to me. Is that when you do the palming initially, and you've actually palmed off this card, and this is handed out to them, this beat here, this moment of relaxation is really important. You don't go straight to the card box. You wait. All the attention is on them. You don't say anything now. You leave it 2 beats or so, 3 beats, and then you just kind of go into your pocket, and now there's a reason for you coming out with this card, okay? So there's damn it. It was difficult when sitting down. My pockets are squished. So I'm going to go into my pocket, remove this card box, and it makes sense, okay? And then everything's feeling clean. There's this very clean picture. There's nothing in the hands. There's nothing in the box. They're putting everything inside, and it's locked away like this. You create this very clear situation, and then you just put this back into the box and come out with no hands. It feels like there's absolutely nothing here, and I can utilize this space of fairness now to now do 2 impossible things. This feels completely fair. And yet from now, I can just have a really, really clean mind reading process if I want to go down that route of I'm going to pickpocket your thoughts ready. And we can do that in any way that we want once we get that card. And then, okay, let's go a step further. Let's physically pickpocket myself. So I've got to go into my pocket, inside the box, find it from within. I'm going to try and do it in 1 second. Now I'm going to go in and just come straight out with that card. You saw from the performance, bang, 9 of hearts. We do this. So if you really look at the structure of this is very, very simple, but it still contains areas where you need to have an understanding of timing and softness and simplicity, and really where they are at. Like most of the time, you need to know where they are mentally. The moment you hand them the cards to shuffle, that's actually what they're concentrating on. So you could just dive to your pocket, but you don't want to draw any attention to yourself. So you create innocence around yourself just by being soft for a few beats. 1, 2, 3, maintain a conversation for a second, give yourself all the time in the world to glimpse the card, if that's where you want to glimpse it. Wait a couple of beats, go in slowly, remove the card box. You have to imagine if you weren't doing anything, that's what you would do. You show it to them, hand it to them, it goes in here, a couple more beats, everything's fair, put it back into the pocket. Very soft, very relaxed. Relaxation is the key to being able to do this stuff absolutely invisibly. Now you'll see, obviously in this explanation, I've given you a couple more routes, some secrets, as opposed to the thing you saw in the performance, which probably would have just been one specific way of doing it, and without the direct mind read, maybe. I can't really remember. I mean, we did it many times, but I've given you a couple more secrets here. This is one of the things I love about card magic in general, is that there's always options. What you're always trying to find is what is the right option for the right moment. And some routines have a very linear structure, and others you can kind of play with. And this is one of those ones that, you can kind of play with those little elements. And it's one of the things I absolutely love about card magic and love about this routine. So yeah, Headbox. It's a simple one, but a very strong one. Enjoy it. So now, when it comes to card magic, it's actually way more complicated and intricate than people realize, but it's also, at the same time, easier than you imagine. It's simultaneously both, and I'm going to try and give you the experience of that. The experience of it being both very, very intricate and difficult, and incredibly easy. But not show you, I want to give you that experience, okay?
Right.
So take one out, any one you wish. Okay, have a look. Remember it, place it back, doesn't matter. Okay, nice and simple, easy, shuffle up like this. Okay, now, this is the part that you're going to do. Could you shuffle these for me, or any form of mixing, really?
I can mix it up.
Yeah, they don't have to be that intricate. They can just be any shuffle you want.
I can just chop around.
That's it, mix them around. That's it. Now, all I want you to do is put the whole deck into your pocket.
Right.
Okay, so just put it straight into a pocket here or something. Yep.
Like this one?
That's perfect. And this is where it gets more difficult than people imagine, because finding a card could feel like a very easy thing,
Yeah.
but not when you have to do it.
Right.
So here's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
You're going to reach into your pocket. You've just shuffled the deck,
Yeah.
correct? You're going to reach in,
Yeah.
and you're just going to grab the card that's inside of your head
Okay.
without looking,
Right.
okay? Now the pressure's on, all right? So just reach in.
It's any card.
Your one, that's what I want you to do.
One shot, James.
You ready?
Yeah.
Go in. Be bold, be confident.
It's not my card.
No? Okay. I told you it's more difficult than it appears, right?
Yeah.
So, but here's what I want you to do. If we, for example, I want you to hold this inside of your hands,
Yeah.
but don't let like a corner of it stick out. So hold
Okay.
both hands out, one on top of the other, and keep it perfectly flat.
Okay.
Okay? So now what we know is this. Imagine this. You shuffle the cards, you have a card in mind. To reach into your pocket and just take it out is going to be difficult.
Right.
But what if it was never about you finding your card? That's too complicated. What if it's easier than that? What if it finds you?
Right.
What was your card?
The Jack of Clubs.
What? Whoa! What? That's kind of creepy. How? What? How? What? How? What
No.
Yeah, that's dumb. That's insane.
What was your card? Honestly, what was it?
7 of clubs.
Have a look.
What the?
Have a look.
Oh my god! That's wild. That is unbelievable!
Put it in your pocket. Yep. This is why I said this is where it gets difficult. Because what you're going to do is you're going to reach into your pocket.
Yep.
Not yet. And you're going to go in and you're going to find the card that you have. Even though you've just shuffled them, they're in your pocket, in your hands, right? It's tricky, right?
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
Go for it. Just go in.
And any random one?
Let's go in.
Okay. And then what?
Let's have a look. Did we get it?
No, not that one.
No. Oh,
Yeah.
no, that's not it.
No.
Okay, that's fine.
I knew the one.
That's why I told you it's hard.
Yeah.
What we can do instead, if, for example, if we hold you basically your hands together like this, but don't let like a corner of it stick out.
Okay.
So put both hands out, one on top of the other, like a sandwich. That's it, like this, so it's locked inside.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing, going into your pocket to try and find that card, it's hard.
Yeah.
But I also said it could be easier than you could imagine. What if you were never supposed to find that card? What if it finds you?
Yeah.
That's much easier.
Are we saying that?
Right,
now?
what was it, honestly?
It was the King of Spades.
Was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
No! Wait, what?
Oh, check all the other cards.
What was your card?
4 of Hearts.
What was your card?
It's a Eight of Hearts.
No way!
No way! No way!
Wait, so your magic?
I know.
So here we are at the 1. Oh dear, this is a killer, and this is an effect that I've kind of held on to myself for a long time. I've never published this anywhere before. Same as some of the other, well, many of the other things on this project. But this particular one has been with me the longest. It's one of my longest unpublished routines. I've kept this to myself, using it to mess with minds for a long time. And I was very miserly with it. I thought, no, I don't want anyone else to know about it. So, but here we are, and you now know about it. This is extremely direct, and again, combines the same structures that I normally use, but in a slightly different way. There's a difference in elements of the technical handling aspects of the hook, but the structure of this is designed to really mess with their heads and give them absolutely nowhere to go. And so I start often by saying to someone, now, you know, sleight of hand or magic or card magic is actually 100 times more complicated and difficult than people think. But it's also much easier than you can possibly imagine. It's kind of both things at the same time. Simultaneously, it's both. It's kind of a contradiction. And I'm going to try and give you that experience. I want you to have the experience of it both being extremely difficult and complicated and easy. And so let's try this. We'll see if we can get there. And in saying that, this is literally true, in the sense that card magic and magic in general is far more difficult than people realize. There's far more depth. There's far more technique, psychology, philosophy. There's far more challenges than people would possibly imagine. There's a huge amount of stuff in there, and it can also be much easier. But often it takes many years to be able to curate, understand, refine, distill, like we have in this project, stuff down to a point where you can almost make it effortless. But that comes at a cost of often doing it for many, many years and making all of the mistakes. And when you come across something that works really well, and is either kind of beautiful or efficient, whatever it may be, that normally comes after a lot of kind of hard work and a lot of realization, a lot of maybe education and evolvement as an individual, an artist, a performer, whatever it is. And it's simultaneously both. And sometimes the secret to how a trick works is actually technically quite simple, and sometimes it's complicated. It is both. But how do you give someone that experience? How do you do that without giving away the effect? And that's what this does. So I start by saying to them, so just reach in, just take anyone out you want. And again, I might do this with a peek, okay? But in this case, we're going to do this with physical selection. So, and again, it doesn't matter. If we do it with a peek, then obviously this is just going to feel like a card lost inside of the deck. And some of the times you might see in the performances that we've done here, even though in the explanation I might say, I've done a peek, or I've done, you can mix it up. Sometimes it's because I don't want to have, if we've used the same group, for whatever reason, we showed them a couple of things, I don't want to have the same selection procedure. So if I did a peek for this one, then I might do a selection for this one, just to vary it up in the moment. Even though if I was to do that effect by itself, individually to someone, I might have preferred to use, one of the other method than from what I used in performance. It depends. This is what's very complicated about filming magic. Anyway, enough of that. So let's just start with a selection for argument's sake. So we have a selection, they have a look at it, they place it back. And again, we go into the same forms of controls. I could use a pass if I wanted to, and then do a shuffle, or we could use a Mahatma, or any of those things. Again, the main part of this that's really important is just being able to get control effortlessly and invisibly. That's all we want here. So let's start with this. So a Jack of Hearts in this case. And I say, look, can you actually mix these up and give these a shuffle? Any shuffle, it doesn't matter, as long as you can do something. And in this case, when this is handed to them, I now have this palmed. Okay, so they now take this and they are going to shuffle the cards. Now, the thing I love about this particular routine is this involves me holding out for a long time. And so sometimes I'll do a palm transfer to the other hand and talk to this person maybe, and just, I've put a bend in the card the other way. It doesn't really matter as long as I've got this under my control. And I will now hand, they've got the deck, and I say, okay, give it a good shuffle, good mix, and just place the whole deck into a pocket, any pocket that you want. And if we think about this, at this stage, they have all of the cards on them. They have everything. They've shuffled let me just not palm this for a second. They've shuffled the cards, so they know that their card, the one they're thinking of, is lost inside of this deck somewhere. So they know that. It couldn't be more convincing. And now they're putting everything in their pocket, and me and them apparently have no cards in our hands. And it's not relevant. It's not part of the where the focus is at this stage. And then I say to them, look, here's what's going to happen. You're going to reach in and just take out the very card that you have in your mind. And I just kind of set it up like that. And I want them to feel that sense of, oh God, but how am I going to do that? And often they'll go, what, just any one? And you go, yeah. Because at this stage, they really think that that's also going to happen. They think that they don't know how, but they're often like, well, how can this possibly be? And you can, sometimes I'll say, see, I told you, it's more difficult than you'd imagine. Like, how would you resolve this? This is tricky. And they're like, well, okay, this isn't going to work. I'm not going to get this right. And they have this feeling. I want them to have that feeling. And the more they have that feeling, all that really is evidence of the fact that they have complete and utter conviction and belief that the card they're thinking of is inside of the deck. So, you just say, go for it. And you can play with this moment. And what you're doing here is just holding out. Okay. And again, I might have swapped it to the other hand for a second or not. And, but whatever it is, I just hold out. And at some stage, they're going to go into their pocket. Let's get rid of the deck for a second. They're going to go into their pocket and they're going to come out with a card. Let's actually take a good contrast out. So they're going to go into their pocket and they're going to take out a card. And they're going to go, now I can tell from their reaction that it's wrong. Sometimes they'll go, no, or they'll go and look at me in this weird way as if to say, what now? And I go, it's not right, is it? And they're like, no. I go, I told you it was harder than it looks. And often they'll like relax a bit. They remember that hook that you said at the beginning about it being more difficult and easier at the same time. They're kind of, oh yeah, no, this is not right. And they don't know what to do now. They're stuck. But what's really important here is that the only card that exists in the performing space is the one they're holding. They know that because they have all of them in their hand. They know they've taken out one, and that's all that exists. So this is going to set up for an incredibly clean transformation of this card, because the psychology of the space is that only this exists. There doesn't need to be any proof of anything other than this being here, because they know that that's it. They know that theirs is just lost somewhere. Okay. Now at this moment, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, and I will just take it from them. And I say, what I want you to do is just hold this inside of your hand. And we're going to go into the same switch, the palm switch that I used in Paper Switch from Unreal Card Magic 1. I'm going to come down on top and say, hold it inside of your hands, but don't let a corner of it stick out or anything like that. So hold both hands out for me. And when we do this, everything matches. They're seeing my hands empty and they're seeing a 3. It's the only card that exists. There's no deck, there's nothing else. So then I come down, hold your hands out for me. No, one on top of the other, that's it, sandwich down on top. And we do this and we wait. And now they're standing with this in their hand and there's no other card. Okay, well there is, secretly. Peekaboo, but they don't know about that, okay? And so I'll run through that very quickly again. So I take this from them. I go, I want you to hold this inside of your hands. Don't let a corner of it stick out. Hold both of your hands out for me. I've got this double here. Make sure my finger is on this corner like this. I'm going to come down as I squeeze and I push that across, but because my finger is on this corner, it pivots over into the palm position. So, no, one hand on top of the other. I come out at an angle as I palm on top of the other. That's it. Bring this forward. This is the only card that exists. The 3 of spades, that's it. And I wait. And while they're in that position, this is when I will say to them, now it's difficult to go into your pocket and just remove the very card that was inside of your head. That's a difficult thing. And now look, now there is nothing in my hands. That's because I've ditched the card that I switched out and done it in a very, very natural action. I'm just imitating them. It's almost like an unconscious action. The idea of going into my pocket and removing one, and getting it right, that's an extremely difficult thing. So there was this is so hard for them to backtrack on. There's just nothing here. It's so clean. This is why I love this. They have no idea that this is going to transform. And so at this stage, with it locked inside of their hands, I make sure my hands are seen empty, so there's nothing. They know they've got the deck in their pocket. They took one card out, which is still in their hands, apparently. So at this stage, I can be really clean and I can draw this in. And I can say, yeah, it's much more difficult than it looks. But also, do you remember I said that it's easier sometimes than you can possibly imagine? Well, I love this line of saying, well, perhaps you were never supposed to find the card, right? What if you weren't supposed to find the card, or anything along that line, and then I'll say, but what if it finds you? I love this line because the idea of you're kind of imbuing the card with some form of consciousness or something like that, and saying, what if you weren't supposed to find it? What if it was supposed to find you? And you just leave it there for a second, and they go, what? For it to find me. That's a different thing. And I love that. It just creates this, moment where they're now like, oh my God, there's no way. And how can this possibly happen? How can this possibly happen? And it's because you've basically closed off every door for potential explanation as you've been going through. This is why the way in which the control is made at the beginning, palming out as they shuffle, then get them to put into a pocket, setting this up, connecting it to the hook in the right way so that they go in, remove one themselves. They've taken out one, they know it's one, and there's this sense of, oh, no, I got it wrong. It's much harder than it looks. Now they're like, hold it in my hands. Yes, I can hold it in my hands. There's no other card exists, and right now you've got nothing in your hands. There's nothing for them to see. This is going to mess their heads up. This is why I kept this to myself for so long. This effect alone, trust me, it's worth the price of this entire project here. This I've been using to mess up people's minds for a very, very long time. And now you just wait. And I just say, have a look. And when this transforms, they just have nowhere to go. They just have nothing. It just makes no sense whatsoever. And if they want to look through the deck right now, there is no other Jack of Hearts, obviously. Now, there is, in this case, a Three of Spades in my pocket. And, they don't really, or almost never, will ask where the Three of Spades has gone. They shouldn't do. At this stage, they're just concentrating on this. You can use this routine as a transposition, because any transformation can become a transposition. Because what happened? Where did the other card go, right? In this, I tend not to use it in that way. I love to use this as an incredibly stark transformation. And like most of my effects, what's happening here? They are doing the transforming. They appear to do all of it. I love this because they've gone through all of it. Now they know that somehow you're doing this, because this wouldn't just happen if they did it by themselves at home. But it absolutely feels that they've done all of it. It feels like they've shuffled the cards, they've put them in their pocket, they've taken one out. Oh no, and they've held it in their hand and they've done this, and then it's transformed. They won't really remember you interacting and engaging in any way with the playing cards. They just won't really remember it. It doesn't really seem to be relevant. This particular little routine is just, I'm kind of sad to give it away. I'm happy to, but sad in a way. It just, everything about the structure of it just feels like you're creating a sense of pure magic for them to experience. You will have to master aspects of palming and holding out and control and being able to be casual and being able to switch. But if you do those things in the right way, you're going to have an absolute miracle on your hands in the one. This is the one transformation to rule them all. I love it. Enjoy it. Put the practice in and you'll have something very valuable indeed. do you think it's possible to know something that you couldn't possibly know?
For me, no. For you, probably.
Right. Well, it's a bit of a paradox, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it can't happen. Let me say what I mean. So I want you to name any card that you want, not pick one out, just name anyone. Yeah, doesn't matter which.
Jack of Diamonds.
Okay. And name any number, but not one, for example, that has to fit on here, because these only go up to like 3, 4, 5, they only go up to 13. So I want you to name any number between 1 and 52, but before you do, I want you to shuffle. Okay, so actually shuffle the cards up for me, a good mix. I want you to have a number in mind and have a playing card.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay? So all I want you to do is deal that number down onto my hand, right?
Okay.
Face down. Ready? $17.
Yes.
So this was the 17th card.
Yeah.
You shuffled the cards. You named any card, which was the
Jack of Diamonds.
and any number, which was 17.
Yeah.
How did you know?
No!
I have no idea what's going on.
No!
You sometimes think you'll have an inkling, and there's nothing.
How?
That is unreal.
How?
24.
Yeah.
So this here is the 24th card.
Yeah.
You shuffled the cards, you named any card, you named any number. 24, and what was the card that you named?
4 cards. That's so weird! Wow!
Any card, any number. You chose 36 and you chose what? The Ace of Spades? Look.
How? How? That doesn't make sense.
9.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was the 9th card.
That's the 9th card.
You shuffled the cards, you named any card, which was the,
Ace of Spades.
and any number, which was 9.
Yeah.
How did you know?
Mental.
Oh my god! That's insane. Oh my god.
So here's the thing, 22 cards down, and you had the 6 of hearts, was that right?
Yes.
You shuffled the deck, you said 6 of hearts and 22. How did you know?
Wow.
Oh my god.
That's crazy.
2?
Yeah.
So there's 2 cards, that's what you wanted? You wanted the second card?
I changed it several times.
But that's what you wanted, the second card, are you sure? So, so you shuffled the cards, listen, you shuffled the cards, and you named any card,
It's good.
and you named the 5 of diamonds, and you named any number, and that was 2.
Yeah.
5 of diamonds, 2.
Wow. That's
I changed it about 3, 4 times.
Wow. Wow.
Real ACAAN. This is a devious little routine. Now, the ACAAN stands for any card at any number. It's been somewhat of a classic effect, sometimes known as the Berglas effect. David Berglas made this a popular effect back in the kind of 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. And the idea is that someone names any card and any number, and they deal down, and there it is. Now, technically, this is just a 1 in 52. You know, that's what this really is. But by naming any card and any number, it just feels much more impossible than that to people. And there's many ways of going about it. Many versions involve, switches or stuff on the table, deck switches, all kinds of setups and everything. As usual, I wanted to create a version that was anytime, anywhere, with an ordinary deck of cards, which didn't require a table. In fact, everything on these projects, the Unreal project, just requires a deck of cards in your hands, and you don't need any of those services. And so this is practical and real world, and they really can name any card and they can name any number, and they can shuffle. That's the thing. They can shuffle it all, and they then even deal the cards themselves, which is what I love about it. Any card, any number, they shuffle, they deal, and yet it's there. And this requires, again, the type of, this is why I love the palm. We're going to be palming again. The palm just opens up so many possibilities. You can use it, as you'll see through these projects, in so many different ways. And we're going to use it here in a very, very sneaky way. So it's going to start by me saying to them, do you think it's, and again, I have many presentations for this, but it depends. But with this, I'll often say, do you think it's possible to know something that you cannot know? And we just leave that with them for a second. And sometimes people say, well, no, or maybe, or whatever. And I'll say, well, that's a paradox, really. But it doesn't mean that it can't happen. Maybe. And so, again, I'm kind of not really saying anything. I'm just kind of leaving something out in the open that I know is going to kind of affect the end, because it will create the impression that once they've said that number, whatever it is, they've shuffled these up several times, and they've said the ace of diamonds and 9. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it's the ace of diamonds, right? How could they possibly know that? Okay. How could they know that? And so the idea of, do you think it's possible to know something that you couldn't possibly know, links to this in that way. They're in that stage of going, well, I must have known it somehow, but there's no way I could know it. I mean, well, what? So I want that mindset there. So that's where we start from. So in this case, what's going to happen is I'll say to them, just name any playing card you want. It doesn't matter which. Maybe don't go for an obvious one like the Ace of Spades or Queen of Hearts. So it's up to you. You can if you want, or just name something. But I don't want you to pick a card. I want you to name one, so you know this is truly something that's come from inside your head, right? And so let's say for argument's sake, let's say the 5 of diamonds. Okay. So I'll say okay, and again I don't start looking for this, right? And I stay here in this position. So I basically want to make sure that I've got the deck here, so I can basically turn it up towards myself when I need to. So I keep it down. So any card like this, and they say 5 of diamonds, I say okay. And I don't start rushing to look at the deck yet. This is what's important. And I say okay, and name any number, and I say that word, but then I look at the deck to clarify what I mean by the number. So here I'm going to say any number, but not a number that fits on these, because like these only go up to say 13. Like, you know what I mean? The values like 2, 3, 4. I mean any number between 1 and 52. But shuffle these first. And in that moment, I now have control of that 5 of diamonds or whatever it was that they've named. So this is the way in which I do that. Let's use the 5 of diamonds anyway for this. Let's put this down inside the deck. So name a card, 5 of diamonds. Okay, that's interesting. And name any number, but not, and I turn over, I start spreading, looking for the 5 of diamonds. Not a number that would fit on here. I see the 5 of diamonds and I just cull it. Because these only go up to say 13, the kings are 13, ace 2, 3, 4, it's not very high. And I turn it over and now I've culled it. And this 5 of diamonds is now on top. Any number between say 1 and 52. Any number, and now because I've dribbled those cards, I'll say any number between say 1 and 52. This gives me a reason to come over and palm. But before they have a chance to name that number, I say, and also just shuffle everything up. Okay? So shuffle that up. In fact, you can keep you can change your mind if you like. I always say that. They never change their mind on the card. Or I can say, in fact, don't tell me, just keep it to yourself. You can change your mind if you like. Now, they will only ever interpret that as being the number that they could possibly change their mind on. They will still stick with the card. You've said nothing about the card. So in this case, they're going to be sticking with the 5 of diamonds. Again, I just palm and I wait, and I just wait, and they shuffle. And as they are shuffling, like this, I'll say, okay, so just, it's really important that you have a card in mind and a number. And in a second, I'm going to ask you to just deal the cards down to that number, okay? But just make sure those are fully mixed up. Okay. And the reason I often say that is because they might have been thinking like 48, and then suddenly they might think to themselves, oh, actually, I'll go for a smaller number. Maybe I'll go for like 11. Okay. It doesn't really matter. I'll also cover some different possibilities if they decide to do something like 2 or 3 or a very low number. We'll deal with that in a second. And even if they do have a high number, I don't care. I'll deal with that as well. But let's, for argument's sake, say for now, they say 11. Okay. So they're shuffling like this in their hands. And I say, okay, and I have this in palm. Okay. And often at this stage, I'll have dropped my hand to my side. I might be here in this position as they're doing that. Yeah, sure, shuffle, stay with this. Then when I put my hand forward like this is when it's awkward here to do it. I would do this in this environment. But when standing, my hand will just drop to my side as I extend this hand forward. I say, just deal down to that number. So they will start dealing the cards into my hands. 1, 2, 3. And they will almost never count. Almost never. Sometimes I'll count along with them for a few, like 3, and then I'll just stop counting. So in this case, I go, okay, so 1, 2, 3, like this, and then they'll just carry on. Okay. Now, the reason for me not counting towards the end is that this is going to help me now clarify this, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, once they've stopped, I go here, right? They've stopped, and I come over, and I'm going to add this on as I say 11. But if I say, look up at them and I say 11, they will always look up at me. So as I come over, it's kind of strange to do on here, probably best to do this on the front camera really. My hand's going to come over and I'm going to go boom, 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 and they finish dealing. I say 11. And they always look up when you say 11. And then I can look down and say, oh, and this was the 11th card. And they just go, yes. Now there's actually 12 cards here because there's the 11 and there's the one I've added on. But this doesn't matter. No one can tell that that's the case. So now when I add on, you'll see this from the overhead here. They're holding the cards off to this side. When I come on, the way I add on is I just come over the top like this. And I'm going to basically use this part of my finger is actually pivoting on the top there. And this second finger is going to pivot it over to the side. And as I do that, I also move my hand around to the side. And you can see this on the side camera here as well. So as I come in like this, I'm going to move around to the side. Now, if you stare at this position like this, you might see something, but there's too much movement happening all at the same time. This just looks like, see from the overhead here, you can kind of see that this is happening. Now, so I don't even attempt to push this off. There are ways to kind of push the card off and do something. I just don't bother. There's just no need. I just come straight over and do this. Okay, so in slow motion, this comes over. I start pulling that in a little bit as my hand comes around the side like this. And I just kind of often flick it like that. So again, you can see this from the side. I come over and say 11. And this was the 11th card. This is super clean. And no one ever will spot this if you time this right. If you're holding out, it's clean. All the focus is on them, shuffling, they deal, bump, and they've stopped. And there's a sense in this when someone's dealing, that's where the focus is. And then they stop. And basically people want to know what's next. So there's a natural momentum towards this shift in misdirection at this point anyway. So the moment that happens, we're like this, I simply just slightly bring this back towards myself. I don't want to come too far back. I want to keep it in roughly the same space, but I come slightly back towards myself as I look up and say 11. And then I'm here and I say, and this was the 11th card. And now, once I've done that, it's like basically I'm kind of going 11. So this is the 11th card, right? So I'm going to come over, I do look up 11, and I kind of often flick. And so this is the 11th, and I point to it. And now it's only on this hand. There's nothing in this hand. And they just say yes. And this is the key. You'll be able to see this in the performance, that I look up as I say the number, and they look up at the same time. And they like I said, that's where their focus has been here. 9, 10, 11. That's what they're doing. And now their natural instinct is to kind of look up and say, now what? So the fact that I look up as I say 11, it's a psychological or physiological thing, really, an auditory thing, that if you raise your head as you say something, they will hear a pitch change, and it naturally makes people elevate their head. So I make sure I'm down here, and then I look up as I say 11. And sometimes I'll mutter numbers, whatever. I go, oh, 11. And they just go bump straight up. I don't want to do too big a movement. I don't need to try and, jerk the head up. I don't need it. Just a very subtle thing. I come over, I look up, I say 11. My hand comes around. They say yes. I go, okay, so this is the 11th card. I'm getting their acknowledgement. And they go, yes. And I go, okay. At this stage, we're done. I go, that's interesting. So you named, what was the card you named? Well, in this case, it was the 5 of diamonds. So you shuffled the cards. You named the 5 of diamonds, and you had 11. So this is from a shuffle deck. Wouldn't this be interesting? And sometimes I check it myself, very slow. I make sure there's no chance of any switch being perceived here. Let me turn this over. Now, sometimes I even get them to turn it over. I'll say, let's have a look. And they think, oh, there's no way. And I get them to turn that over. Now, often what I do is sometimes I just keep this 5 of diamonds out and I just put these on top of the deck that's in their hand still. And the moment you do that, there's now no proof of how many. There are 11 cards there, but they now blend in. I don't know what 11 they were. So now all evidence is gone of anything, and you're just left in this position. This is incredibly clean. And if you want to create the impression of them shuffling the cards, dealing themselves, naming any card and naming any number, and there it is, this does that every single time. You just have to get good at being able to deal with the psychology of culling that card initially and doing the palm and holding out. Now, these are not necessarily the easiest things to do in the world, but they are the most direct and the most efficient and the most practical. And you can do this in almost any environment. As soon as they name that card, don't go diving for it. So, if they named the 10 of spades and it's halfway down, I say, okay, interesting. And just name a number for me, but not one that would fit on here, because these only go up to, say, 13. The king's 13, ace 2, 3, 4, not that. I mean a number between 1 and 52. And then I'll ask you to deal to it. But before we do that, just shuffle these up, give them a really good mix. And then I'm in this position with that 10 of spades, ready and waiting. So shuffle, okay, you have a card in mind, you have a number. Okay, you could be changing that as we speak. It doesn't really matter. The point is, this is all you. This is all your decisions, okay? And when you finish, just deal down to that number on my hand, which they do, whatever that may be. So say 14. So I'm going to come over from this position, 14, okay? That was the 14th card. So we won 14, okay. And you've shuffled the cards, 14. What was the card that you had in mind? 10 of spades. This would be interesting. Bang, we have it. This is super clean and is just super practical, and really puts the onus on them. If you look at the presentation, that idea of saying, sometimes also at the end on that hook, I go, oh, interesting. How did you know? Because what you're really creating the impression of is not magic necessarily, but once they finish shuffling like this, basically whatever card they named was at that number that they dealt to. You're not creating the impression of a transformation here. You're creating the impression that that was it, and that's what it will look like. So really, how did they know? So there's an element of that I want to kind of play with. And so often at that end point, I'll just go, oh, interesting. How did you know? And leave it there. So I really love this particular handling of ACAAN, real ACAAN. It really feels completely real, feels absolutely clean. Now, I said in there, what do you do if they name, say, if they deal 2, which I've had. So I had someone deal 2, right? They just go 1, 2. And I immediately would just go 2. You have all the cards, you wanted 2? Yes. Now, what can they see here? 2. Now, I've actually got this bottom card squeezed as a double. It's no different. I'm just holding them together. And I go, in this case, what I would do is I would just do exactly the same thing. I would just go, oh, interesting. Like this. I might even just go, look, hold on to it. I don't even want to take it. They take it and I just drop those on top. Take these back. Turn it over. If they name a much bigger, it doesn't matter. Now the only difference could be if they named 1. Because if they named 1, this becomes very, very, well, there are ways that you could do a transformation. I just don't like it with 1 because it's like, oh, was it just on top? It feels flat. If they were to name what, deal 1, I'd say, oh, don't do 1. Just deal to a higher number, deal somewhere. It doesn't matter, it's still your choice, but you can just deal randomly and stop if you want. And I would just do it with such a kind of, not authority, but say it in such a way that they would just do it. I've only ever really had that happen a couple of times, and I've just said, no, keep dealing, do a few more than that. Otherwise it's not going to be good. So they go, okay, and they get to like 7, you know what I mean? And then once you're in that position, you say, okay, 7, you sure? Okay. And then we're in that position. If it's a much higher number and they get to like, you're dealing through and it's like 18, 19, you know, and 30, 31, 30, 38, 39, right? And you get to 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, right? Whatever it is, and you've still got this card. And you go, okay, 44. Oh, is that what you wanted? Right? It's a long way to go through, isn't it? And that's the 44th card. Okay. There's no difference whatsoever. And in fact, in that moment, I'll just actually get silent as I go along and I just get right into that process. I don't care. You know, I want it to feel real in that moment. And this will. And again, palming, the ability to cull a card in this case. And this is one of those environments where I would cull rather than cut a card. I mean, you still can do it. Imagine we wanted the 4 of clubs. And I said, okay, interesting 4, and you name a number, but not a number that's, that fits on cards like 6 or 5, not one of those numbers, like a number between, say, 1 and 52, right? And now I've got that 4 of clubs. You can use that. I tend to just try and use the cull, so there's no moves happening in this particular one. A cull and palming, your ability to hold out, but more importantly, your understanding of structure, knowing what they're thinking and what they're doing. And again, this is one of those effects where it feels like they do everything. They are holding the cards. They shuffle, they name the card, they think of the number, they deal down to it, and there it is. You know, as much as I can try and put stuff in their hands and give them control, any opportunity where they can have control, I want them to have it because it will just impact what happens. My job is to be kind of Mr. Invisible, is to be sneaky around the outside and they can't see how I'm influencing or manipulating what's happening. That really is where I really enjoy being, magically speaking. Otherwise, it just sounds creepy. Okay, real ACAAN. Enjoy it. Go out there and have any card fall at any number and have them do it. Go for it.